Howdy y'all, it's Freeze Crack. Hey, it's raining. So I'm sitting in the edge of the garage and I'm thinking about goofing around and showing you something that I actually find kind of amusing that I call pebble tech. And that's where you take a lumpy, weird, round, difficult shaped little rock and try and work it. And so that's what I thought I'd do. This particular little rock is a piece of citronelle gravel from Louisiana. And it's been heated. With citronelle, you just never know what's inside it, so you just got to kind of get into it. It looks kind of pretty. It's sort of pure looking, we'll see. But the reason I'm hitting it with a hammerstone is not because I have an intention of doing an ambo, but because you frequently can't get into a little rock like this very well with copper. So that's why I just am kind of starting out, getting into it a couple of places. And you have to be very good with your concept and how you reduce these sorts of things, because you don't get a lot of chances to make mistakes. And I would like to have that end off, but that I don't have much length to start with. So I'm going to leave that end on and I'm going to attack it from a different concept or a different angle. I'm going to be very conservative. And I'm going to use indirect primarily for this, and the reason is that indirect can be very conservative. You can do a much better job of picking specific areas and doing things on them. And even though this is cooked, it's tougher than it looks, and that actually hinged out. And it's okay because I've got quite a bit of thickness here, but it's one of those things that it would have been nice if it had shot that hump off. Part of it may have been due to the cortex. So I'm going to come down to this other end here and try and shoot along that ridge, and that, I feel like that should almost certainly work, and then we'll go from there. Feels pretty tough. This may have not been a great idea. Okay, so that got kind of over on there, but the problem with that now is that's a weak little ridge where it goes right past that little divot. So like as not, if I hit it right here, it's just going to hinge out on the divot unless I undercut it quite a bit. I guess I'll go ahead and set it higher on the platform and see. But I don't have a whole lot of hopes for this particular strike, but we'll see. It did undercut it. It stutter stepped a little bit right in there, but no big deal. But obviously I'm not going to hit on that. It's a big concavity, so I'm going to go on down to the next potential platform here. Okay, so I cut half of the end off. I do need to be careful though, because I don't really want to get up too high and get into where my point would be in the middle of this at the moment. I really consider these kind of deals like a little chess game. I want to try and shoot one along the ridge from the end here and see what happens. feeling pretty tough, guys. It's feeling pretty tough. This particular formation, I have not read up on it much, but it's supposedly glacial till. And from some of the little fossils, I've seen some really old fossils in these rocks, like 300 million years old or so. And where it's found is not anywhere close to that age. So I'm definitely willing to believe the concept of it being a glacial till sort of thing that was relocated from somewhere considerably further north down into Louisiana. Okay, what to do next? I think I'll come off with these little pieces of things. But that's kind of risky. I'm hitting on cortex right there. I think I'll try and do one shot along this little ridge first. Although I like this other little ridge, might be more productive. I'm trying to kind of bevel a little notch right on there to sort of get in off of that angle to try and be able to shoot down that ridge a little better. Didn't work. It was kind of the way I was holding it. I was trying to hold it between my fingers and support it still, and it really didn't have enough support, and that's why it, probably why it hinged out, but it's also why I didn't go the first time. Somebody made a comment on one of my videos that said that he hadn't been napping a long time, but was having trouble taking a flake. And of course, without seeing somebody nap, it's real dangerous to try and diagnose what their issues are with something. But just don't forget several things. Number one, you know, the cortex is always potentially something tough to get into. So if you're having trouble taking a flake on cortex, pretty much everybody does. And you can always try and grind it. See, I just hit that little narrow thin edge of cortex about 4 times and nothing has happened. So I'm going to try and get close. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around where it's broken. Because what happens is once you break the thing, generally, see, that came off easy. Once you break the thing, generally you can get into it pretty easily. Sorry to move you a little bit there. It's starting to rain a little harder. So sometimes it's just a matter of moving over and hitting right where a fresh break is, or right beside a fresh break. Like there's a little break right there. So I'll come right to that spot and put it on there and hit. Kind of failed on me. And then, so sometimes you just want to find you a low spot or a pinched area, a narrow spot on your rock that looks like it's sort of a natural area that theoretically has less structural integrity. Like on this thing, you know, that end was pinched and thin, but like you wouldn't want to hit like on this round big area trying to get into it. I didn't really want to hit on the back end because it was round and big. Because yeah, if you hit it enough times, it'll break. But in the meantime, when you're trying to hit it a bunch of times, you're probably setting up incipient fractures in there, and you may just batter the whole thing enough where it's not any good anymore. The whole end may be bad from battering. So I generally try and find me a pinched area, a low area, an area that's got enough angle to be a natural platform, and just get into it. And then once I'm into it, once that skin is broken, even on real tough rock, so overshot. Look, I did an overshot. Sorry for that irrational exuberance. But on Pebble Tech, you have to get excited about the smaller things. Look, another one. And I hope this is focused. I mean, that's cool, you know. Look at my pattern. The bad thing is, when I'm filming, since I use my camera, my cell phone for filming, I don't take individual stills. So, y'all just go online and talk about this in lieu of me posting a photograph. Okay, good. Oh, look at that. Man, I need to go throw that somewhere. Just like that. I kind of like mysteries. I always think it'd be fun to create mysteries. Actually, one time I did that years ago. I made myself a big, giant, fake cat footprint, like from the mother of all cats. And I went around at night, you know, stomping the ground with it when it was like muddy and stuff. Of course, I kept hoping that I would eventually, you know, read about myself, but I never did. I'm guessing that I hung out places that were just, I was the only person going there, which I'm not sure if that's a bad thing, but could be. There was a guy that I knew back then that told me one time I spent too much time in low-lying areas. Well, around here everything's low. It's a swamp. And by the way, I've been meaning to tell y'all, that frickin' airport is not that close to me. I just happened to be, I guess, on the flight path, and everybody's probably ferrying fuel or something and flying low. But I didn't want y'all to think I live in, like, at the end of the runway or something, because I don't. Okay, now that's getting real steep, but I need this cortex off, so I have to do something. That time I hit it back this way, trying to do something to kind of like make it a little less ridiculous of an angle of steepness. You realize my first thought today was to just film me making something out of a flake, which would have been much simpler. That was a good flake. Look at that. I kind of angled it to do that. I have so many things I want to do, napping wise. Okay, rain, you're supposed to get less, not more. It has rained toad frogs here lately. One of the rivers near me had like 50,000 cubic feet of flow per second. And of course everybody upstream, you know, opens the dams when they got more than enough water, so. Downstream floods. My little cute rock, but boy is this thing fat. I have got issues with thickness. I am going to have to majorly pull off some miracles to not make a little paleo sausage or something here. Which I think that's one of the main reasons why all the stuff around this area just happened to be so gnarly looking and fat and everything, because they didn't have copper ishi punches. Speaking of which, it's getting ratty on the end. Do not let your punches get ratty. It takes away their venom. Okay, now it's raining harder. I hope you can still hear me and not just hear loud raindrops hitting. Well, I tried to shoot that one hard and it went past halfway, but it still stayed kind of steep on me. This one's got to go. This one right here's got to go. Okay, yeah, that's lower. Rain, you do realize I'm trying to video here, don't you? Okay, it's always dangerous to hit on the end, even on a little rock, so I'm trying to support it all over the place. "17 minutes. I'm stopping and starting again. Be right back."